All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Very Cold Lasagna, the podcast that houses a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and even the dumbest takes on the world of WWE, AEW, the NFL, and the wide world of pro wrestling and sports in general. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's episode number 66 of this freezing cold podcast that houses a very icy cold, yet also icy hot lasagna in that cold ass fridge. So today we got a good show for you all. We're going to be talking about a turkey-filled NFL Week 12, talking about my winners and losers, talking about all the games, my players of the week, taking a look at the current playoff picture, heading into a kind of big Week 13 of this 2021 NFL season as we officially have entered the stretch month, not stretch run, the stretch month, the final month of the NFL regular season, even though, well, there's technically almost half a month left of football in January, but this is like the true test of strength for all these teams in the month of December. So we're going to be talking about Week 13, my picks, all on today's episode. And I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. For those that celebrate it, if you do celebrate Thanksgiving, which I do, of course, myself, I hope you had a good one. Hope you ate some good food. I certainly did. I had some ham. I also had some like this shrimp ball thing that was pretty good too. I also had some good ass fried chicken. You can't have a Thanksgiving without fried chicken, you know. Some spaghetti, some pretty good food on Thanksgiving, and I hope everyone had a good one too. As we head into December, there's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen in the world of football, as well as the world of sports too. So, a lot of things happening in the land of sports. Certainly not in the land of wrestling, but at least sports, there's some things going on. Before we get into today's show, I want to talk about the social media. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn that notification bell on so you'll be notified of each and every episode and video that comes out in relation to Very Cold Lasagna. Make sure to listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, as well as Google Podcasts, and follow the show on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. So let's get into our weekly recap of the 2021 NFL season. Let's get into Week 12. Yes, the turkey-filled week. Mashed potatoes, gravy, turkey legs to be handed out, silver game balls, all that good shit in Turkey Week. So this week not only brought us some good old Thanksgiving football, but it was also the start of, holiday football. We're going to get Thanksgiving football, Christmas football, New Year's football. It's holiday football. It's soon starting December football. Some of it was going to be festive this past weekend. Other teams were going to also be met with raw-ass, moldy turkey and early coal in their stockings. But nonetheless, it was going to be a wild one in this week of football. But we could take aside in the fact that we knew that for the Arizona Cardinals and the Chiefs, they were going to spend their Thanksgiving with ease, with their family and friends during their bye week, because that's what they had, a bye week with comfort and food and family before they get into their most important portion of the season. Either way, this past week actually brought us, unlike last week, more clarity who was going to rise and fall in the playoff race, or who was going to lines their way into the playoff race. So we get started with my recap of Week 12 with a Thanksgiving slate of the games, with the Chicago Bears traveling to Detroit again to face the Lions. I still don't understand why the Detroit Lions get these Thursday Thanksgiving games. I think I read somewhere online saying that, Detroit was the only team that was willing to play on Thanksgiving. So that was like years ago. That was like over 50 years ago. And here, this was the reason why nobody wants to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving. And sadly, because I have to talk about it, I'm sorry for the people that had to watch this. This is a game that featured a lot of Lions get a line and a lot of Bears football, John. Guaranteed. The Bears sinked a last-second field goal to keep Matt Nagy's job for whatever reason, and it kept the Lions on their destiny, on track to record something no one has ever had, a winless yet one-tie record to their season. So the Bears beat the Lions in a very unexciting 16-13 affair. So in Dallas, in their traditional Thanksgiving game, they got beat in overtime by the Las Vegas Raiders, 36-33 in the upset of sorts. Daniel Carlson, the Raiders kicker, was the MVP for this game, kicking a lot of clutch field goals for the Raiders. And this was also a nice rebound game for a Raiders offense that has been without Henry Ruggs. There was like no downfield threat, and Deshaun Jackson finally, getting comfortable with the system, and Hunter Renfrow had a nice game too. As for the Cowboys, man, their offense is, I know they're missing Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, but they have been out of whack. Even if they were on the field, they've been really out of whack. And there were brutal penalties and on the Cowboys that gave the way for Las Vegas to get a win on Turkey Day. So the Raiders beat the Cowboys 36-33. And then in the nightcap, the Buffalo Bills destroyed New Orleans Saints 31-6. Dawson Knox, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs all got the turkey legs in this one. They overcame a slow first half to methodically beat down on Trevor Siemian and the Saints on a night where New Orleans honored their retired QB, Drew Brees. Ouch. So then we get into the Sunday slate of games. We start with the early morning games. The Atlanta Falcons beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 21-14. Pretty much all it took for the Falcons to win this one was the return of Cordell Patterson. And his return was pretty much, the reason why the Falcons was able to run a proper, somewhat offense. And the Jaguars, they suck ass. So the Falcons beat the Jaguars 21-14. The Miami Dolphins picked up a big kind of win on the Carolina Panthers, 33-10. Man, so much for the Panthers being back, huh? So much for Cam Newton having his triumphant return to Carolina. So much for that. I mean, it may all be too late for Miami, but hey, their defense has been playing well as of late, and they swarmed a pretty washed-up Super Cam. And Tua Tagovailoa, I can never pronounce his name right, so we'll just call him Tua. And Jalen Waldo, the rookie wide receiver, is kind of starting to come out a little bit, and they took advantage of Miami's defense swarming Cam Newton, and they both sides had big days ahead of them. So the New York Jets battled the Houston Texans. The New York Jets battled the Houston Texans in a battle to determine who would get their third win of the season. And it turns out the Jets would get their third win of the season, 21-14. And I don't really care. The New York Giants, in an upset, beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who have won, I think it was like 2 or 3 straight, in a rather ugly game, 13-7. Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions, and the Giants, even though Daniel Jones suffered a neck strain that I don't know where the heck he suffered it, but they held the Eagles serve, and they made sure Michael Strahan was honored, and he got his jersey number retired in a happy way when it was all said and done. The Cincinnati Bengals, in perhaps the upset of the day, destroyed methodically and pretty much in a hammer the Pittsburgh Steelers, 41-10. Yikes! Like, I honestly picked the Pittsburgh Steelers because I wasn't convinced by the Bengals at all with their win last week against the Raiders, but goddamn, colored me completely wrong. Joe Burrow and the Bungles completely whacked the old fart Big Ben all around Sunday. And that was pretty much visualized. It was pretty much written, dead in the water, with a pick 6, by former Steeler Mike Hilton, and the Bengals whacked the Pittsburgh Steelers 41-10. The Tampa Bay Bucks beat the Indianapolis Colts 38-31 in a Game of the Year candidate. Both teams fought back and forth in this one, but Leonard Fournette, his 4th touchdown of the day, came in clutch for the Bucks, and that sealed the deal late in the game. The New England Patriots beat the Tennessee Titans 36-13. You're kind of starting to see the cracks in the Titans offense without Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones. And the Patriots took full advantage of that. They forced turnovers on Ryan Tannehill, and well, the Titans don't have a defense, and Mac Jones took full advantage of that. And the Patriots all around are continuing to look impressive ahead of their Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be a big one next week. So the Patriots beat the Titans 36-13. Now we get into the afternoon slate of games. The Denver Broncos beat the LA Chargers 28-13. They lost Teddy Bridgewater for a moment in the second quarter, but the Denver defense was the stars of the game. They shook up Justin Herbert all game long. Pat Surtain notched 2 interceptions. One was pretty much the game-sealing pick 6 in the fourth quarter to ice the game. And the Chargers, well, they're pretty much going full Clipper mode down the stretch. The Green Bay Packers beat the other LA team, the Rams, 36-28. And this was pretty much another week, no matter what the bye week did for the Rams, this is pretty much another week where no matter where Matthew Stafford is now, the ghost of his Lions past are always going to be there. And this was just another week of it, because it showed here again against his old rival, Aaron Rodgers. Yep, Aaron Rodgers attacked a supposedly good Rams team, and the Rams offense was pretty much spooked by the Packers. So the Packers beat the Rams 36-28, and you got to have some serious concerns for the Rams if you're a fan of them. The 49ers beat the Minnesota Vikings 34-26 in a wild one. Deebo Samuel, even though he got hurt in the fourth quarter, his 2 rushing touchdowns and the defense attacking Kirk Cousins so much that when the Minnesota Vikings were trying to go for it on fourth down late in the game, he forgot to line up under the correct lineman in that one. He forgot to line up behind the center. And the 49ers get the edge in the wild card race past the Minnesota Vikings in this one. Then in the Sunday night game, the Baltimore Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns in a very, very ugly game that saw Lamar Jackson overcome 4 interceptions. And this was pretty much a game that's pretty much had all the national spotlight on a very banged up Baker Mayfield and a pretty much overall banged up Browns team. So the Ravens beat the Browns 16-10, and please don't put them on prime time until both of those teams get healthy. Then in the Monday night game, the Washington football team beat the Seattle Seahawks 17-15. This was even though the score may seem low, this was actually a pretty wild one, if you ask me, because you had a blocked field goal turned into a 2-point conversion I think this is like the first time this happened in like forever. And then you had a very late Seattle comeback by Russell Wilson. He knocked a touchdown to Freddie Swain, and then they tried to go for 2, and then it was intercepted in the end zone. And then you also had the onside kick, so Seattle could get another chance at it. It was initially successful, but then there was an illegal formation on Seattle, so they had to retry the onside kick, and then it was unsuccessful. Pretty wild way to end the game for such a low-scoring game. So Washington holds on to beat Seattle to put one nail in their playoff hopes. Seattle, you have a little bit of concern there. So those were the games for Week 12. There are some pretty wild ones there in this turkey-filled week. Some got mashed potatoes and gravy. Others got, a rotten, moldy turkey when it was all said and done. So now let's talk about my winners and losers of Week 12. I'm going to start with the winners, the Washington football team. I mean, they might not win the NFC East from the Cowboys. I mean, well, that remains to be seen, considering how free-falling the Cowboys have been, like, ever so slightly. But I think they can do enough. The WFT, they can do enough to make it as a wildcard team. Taylor Heineke has played much better, and, he's been taking care of the football as of late. And you got a good 1-2 punch combo with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick at running back. Obviously, Terry McLaurin is a good option to have. And Logan Thomas, the tight end, it was he wasn't productive in the Seahawks game, but, it's expected considering he just came back from injured reserve. But once he, gets more comfortable again the offense, then who knows? Maybe Washington will be able to produce even more. And on the defensive side, even without Chase Young, the defense has been able to force 3-and-outs, force turnovers, and get a lot of big key plays in the biggest moments of their 3 games. They even managed to upset Tom Brady and the Bucs that sparked this 3-game winning streak. And going forward, after this Raiders game, they've got a pretty much a manageable NFC East schedule. They play the Cowboys twice. They got to play the Eagles twice too. They got to play the Giants in the season finale. I mean, if the Washington football team wants more than just a wild card spot, I mean, it's not out of the realm of the possibility. They got to play with their heart and soul. I mean, in spite of the injuries, if they want to take care of business. So, I think a postseason push is not out of the question for Washington. They've been playing pretty well, but for a division title, it's also a possibility. The Cincinnati Bengals, I questioned last week about their win against the Raiders, considering Joe Burrow didn't have a great game. It was pretty much all Joe Mixon, and it was pretty much all the defense. And you're going into this game against Pittsburgh, division game. Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, yeah, he's not playing great, but he also had a effective game against the LA Chargers. And was Joe Burrow going to be much better in this game than the one he had last week against the Raiders? Yes, it's a struggling Raiders team, but you can't put that past you. And boy, was I wrong about that. I guess the Raiders beatdown was the appetizer to the beatdown that was laid onto the Steelers. Joe Burrow had a much better game. He was more involved in this one, and man, Bengals really made Big Ben consider retirement in that game. The defense forced him into a lot of mistakes. They got to him countless times, including a pick six in the end of the first half. And the offense is once again clicking, even with if it's mostly Joe Mixon, the running back, doing much of the work. And, they're clicking at the right time, especially when the Ravens are kind of faltering and they're kind of winning ugly games. And, the Browns are clearly banged up. The Steelers, even with their good defense, they don't seem interested in catching up with the race with an old washed-ass Big Ben Roethlisberger. This December football could be interesting for the Bengals. It's not out of the realm of the possibility. I mean, they don't have a tough-ass schedule. I mean, they just have a middle-of-the-road schedule when it's all said and done. But, they can catch up to the Ravens if they play this kind of football going forward. So as for the losers, staying in the AFC North, the Ravens and the Browns. Yes, they are both losers in one sitting. Holy crap. Why exactly are they both losers in one sitting? Well, let me tell you. Let's start with the Ravens first. The Ravens, yes, they're the leaders of the AFC North. They are the number 1 seed currently if the playoffs started today. But look at their offense, man. They are regressing at such a bad time. Even in the 2 games that Lamar Jackson has played against, let's say, Miami, and then here we go again with Cleveland, Jackson has been not good. He's been waiting in the pocket, waiting for the big play, the big throw to happen, and when that big throw doesn't happen, or when he's trying to throw, he throws it so erratically that it gets picked off. And his weapons, his receiving core outside of Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown, they haven't really produced positive results lately either. And this instance came most recently against a banged-up Browns team on Sunday night. Rashad Bateman didn't get separation. Sammy Watkins, well, I mean, he's old as fuck, but I mean, he's got to contribute here too. And all this contributes to, well, a tougher stretch of football that the Ravens are going to be entering to. And if they don't clean up their act, if they keep playing like the way they did on Sunday night, sloppy football, Lamar Jackson having 4 turnovers, or making super erratic throws and relying so much on the run, that lead on the North could quickly slip away to the Bengals. Meanwhile, for the Browns, like I said, in front of a national televised audience, they showed that, yeah, they are really beat up. They are really banged up, especially Baker Mayfield. Like, I don't understand why the Browns feel need to start him when he's clearly severely hurt. Both of his shoulders are like beat up. It's like it's banged up. It's torn. Like, I don't know if it's torn, but it's like we've heard so much about it. It's like he's clearly not 100%. He's not even 50%. He's also had a chest injury already, and why is he continuing to insist on playing in this state? Like, I mean, I get he has a fighting spirit, but damn, dude, it's at some point you gotta like let it go. You gotta rest your body for a little bit. I mean, yeah, the bye should certainly help that, but man, I don't know. And it wasn't even just Mayfield too. It was the running game went non-existent. They kept insisting on throwing it so much. It's like there's no balance. Like, you had Nick Chubb, you had Kareem Hunt coming off IR, but Kevin Stefanski was like, nope, we're not doing that. We're just gonna have a injured Baker Mayfield midfield try his best Super John Cena impression in this game. So yeah, both teams are losers in one sitting because, you know, Ravens trending in the wrong direction on both sides of the ball, and the Browns, for as banged up as they are, they're going back slowly but surely into the skid marks. And the LA Rams, I guess it goes to show that Matthew Stafford can only really beat up on shitty teams, even when he's on a new team, whether it's the Lions or the Rams. It's like Matthew Stafford is only good against good teams, not good teams, but shitty teams. Because when he plays against good teams, he looks scared, rattled, and unprepared. And that showed up again for much of Sunday. He tried to force passes into tight coverage, and it caught up to him with the pick six in the third quarter. You know, the Rams are really starting to look like the Lakers in this juncture. You know, you grab a bunch of oldsters for free agency, such as, like, you know, Odell Beckham, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, and then you build a super team or retirement home in the Lakers case, and then you can try to win a title in your season. And then you only have yourself to blame when you start losing a lot, and then that reality becomes a slap in the face for you. So, yes, you got a game against Jacksonville to get right, but after that, yeah, you get no days off after that. You got Arizona, you got Baltimore. What else did they play? They played the 49ers at the end of the season, and, well, that could be a win or go home situation depending on how things shape out. I'm not. Oh, they play Seattle, but I mean, by then Seattle will probably be out of the playoff race. But, you know, and I guess you could never count Russell Wilson. I don't know, but still, it's a pretty tough road ahead for the Rams, and if they don't get their act together, you know, they're gonna be disappointing a lot of people in LA. The Dallas Cowboys, whether it's COVID or letdown games from certain players, man, the Cowboys continue to find ways to let their fans down and find a way to make Stephen A. Smith happy. After a 6-game winning streak, you know, after they first lost their game to the Bucs on opening night, you know, the boys, they've lost 3 of their last 5 since the bye week. And all those losses came from the AFC West. And I get it. You know, and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb have been out. You also got a couple of injuries on defense. You got a banged up Zeke Elliott playing through injury. But you got to play with what you have, man. You got to shake it off. You got to adjust. But I think the Cowboys have no interest in doing so. You know, Dak had a much better game against the Raiders than the one he had against the Chiefs. But it was the defense that pretty much caused all the issues in this one. They were getting sent to officiating jail. They were getting arrested for the crimes of pass interference. And it was always that number 30 that was getting sent to officiating jail for pass interference. So it's going to be interesting to watch for the Cowboys if they're going to free fall even more, or, they have their bounce back game against the Saints on Thursday. But the Cowboys, not. I thought they were going to be, this was going to be the changing of the guard for them. I thought, this was going to be their chance to finally right the ship. Maybe they make a deep playoff run. But as expected, the Cowboys somehow, some way, find a way to let everybody down. It makes Stephen A. Smith happy. So the Cowboys, they got to figure themselves out. Washington, is somehow creeping in. I mean, yeah, they're well behind the Cowboys when it comes to the division race, but you never know. There's still a month of football left to play. So the Cowboys got to figure some things out. And the Tennessee Titans, I mean, yeah, kind of the same deal. They're dealing with injuries. And even then, Sunday showed us why it's very important for the Titans to not heavily invest in one player. And that one player be a running back. Yes, Derrick Henry, we get it. He's a god at his position. But he's not the only player on your team. Like, guys like A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, and then Caleb Farley. Without those guys, Ryan Tannehill eventually ran out of people, to trust. Well, Caleb Farley's on defense, but offensively, on the offensive side of the ball, Tannehill just eventually ran out of gas. The offense just was started to sputter. That resulted in New England mauling their asses, and they eventually capped out the running game, and they forced Tannehill into mistakes. And, the defense got tired. The offense couldn't do anything because, Tannehill can't trust anyone. So it's going to be a kind of a free fall for these Titans because, the Colts, even though they lost to the Bucs, they're playing better football. And there's a realistic chance they could catch up to the Titans, even though they got swept by them already. You never know, man. You never know with this team. All Tennessee can do at this point is just roll with it. So my players of the week, you got Aaron Rodgers, demolishing the Rams. Then Bucs running back Leonard Fournette, 4 touchdowns, including the clutch one to seal the victory for the Bucs in the Colts game. Ravens tight end Mark Andrews for his crazy ass catch in the Sunday night game and the only touchdown in the game to put the Browns away. Raiders kicker Daniel Carlson for the game winner and the various field goals, and the Cincinnati Bengals defense for putting the clamps on Big Ben Roethlisberger. So that was week 12 of the NFL season. What did you guys think about it? Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening, wherever you get your podcast, let me know. Let me know how you felt about this week 12. So now let's talk about week 13. We're officially in December. It's December football, baby. Yeah. Are you ready for December football? I certainly am. This is truly the time where we get to see, I know I've been saying it for weeks, this is truly the time, December, where we get to see who are the true contenders and the true pretenders. Yes, I know, we still have a month and a half because of that 17-game season, but this is the time where we get to see who is for real. For real. We get to see who clinches their spots into the postseason and who gets the boot, who gets the kick out of that playoff door. So we might get that answer this week. I mean, I think at least one of these things will be guaranteed. We get the answer to everybody's favorite winless team, that is the Detroit Lions, can inch closer to their destiny of being 16-1, as they'll potentially be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss to the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday. Meanwhile, Houston and Jacksonville can also be eliminated from contention this week and begin focusing on the draft. Oh wait, Houston doesn't have any picks anyway, but they need a number of things for that to happen. So eventually, over time, they'll get eliminated. So looking at the playoff picture, there's a lot of things to clear up. We got the usual suspects with the Cardinals, the Ravens, the Packers, the Patriots, Titans, Bucks, Chiefs, Cowboys, everything, still in a flux at the top 4 spots. But when we get to the rest, it's pretty wild. It is pretty wild. So there's still a lot of things to figure out as we head towards the stretch run of this season. So we begin this stretch run here and now with Thursday Night Football. Yes, we begin with the 2 teams that lost on Thanksgiving. I don't know why. I don't know how, but blame the NFL for this. The Dallas Cowboys travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Initially, I had the Cowboys to win this one, but once news broke out that Mike McCarthy was going to be coaching this game, and Taysom Hill's going to be starting, there's always a possibility that New Orleans can pull off an upset with Taysom starting. I think he'll run the offense a little bit better than Trevor Siemian will. I mean, sure, there'll be more running plays from New Orleans, but hey, anything can happen. So I'm going to go on a little bit of upset trend and pick New Orleans to win this one and, play a little spoiler to Dallas's chances at clinching the NFC East. Just a little bit. Then we get into the Sunday slate of games. The early morning action first. The New York Giants travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Giants are likely going to be without Daniel Jones in this one due to a neck strain he suffered in Week 12 against the Eagles. And he'll be resting at least for a week. So the Giants will trot out Mike Glennon. Yeah, everyone's favorite backup QB, Mike Glennon. So I expect the Dolphins defense to have another good outing, pouncing all over that blue New York candy ass. So I'm going to roll with the Dolphins on this one. The Indianapolis Colts travel to Houston to take on the Texans in Battle Red Day for Houston. But it'll be a bloodbath for the Colts as they look to bounce back from a gut-wrenching loss to Tampa Bay. And the Colts will simply put away a very lowly Houston team early and often. The Minnesota Vikings travel to Detroit to take on the winless Lions. As long as Kirk Cousins know which lineman to line up under center, the Vikings should have no problem taking care of the still winless Detroit Lions team. Clearly ready to take the number 1 overall pick in April. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this one. The Philadelphia Eagles look to bounce back from their stunning upset defeat from the New York Giants, staying in New York to take on the New York Jets. Now, we don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to play in this game due to an ankle injury that Hurts suffered last week. But even then, if it's Jalen Hurts or Gardner Minshew starting, I think the Eagles can take care of business here in this one. Zach Wilson is not exactly lining things up. He's still turning the ball over. He has no offensive line to speak of. So I think the Eagles should be able to take care of them in this one. So the Arizona Cardinals return from their bye to take on the Chicago Bears for some Bears football. The Cardinals hope to have Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins back in this one. They've been off from recovery for over almost a month now. I think the Cardinals should easily take care of this one. I know there'll be a little bit of rust for Kyler and DeAndre, but the Cardinals will be back in, dishing out their brand of football once again. So I'm going with the Cardinals. In a big matchup of the week, the LA Chargers travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. This is going to be an exciting one with 2 teams going in opposite directions. The Chargers season is kind of free-falling in front of everyone's eyes. The Bengals, 2 straight wins, 2 big blowout wins. The Bengals are going to win a tightly contested contest in this one. I think their defense will make Justin Herbert's life a little more difficult than the Denver one did. So I'm going to roll the Bengals to win a close one in this game. The Tampa Bay Bucks take on the Atlanta Falcons. Cordell Patterson is productive for fantasy, but at the end of the day, the Bucks will steamroll the Falcons probably before the end of the third quarter. In the afternoon slate of games, the Jacksonville Jaguars take on the LA Rams. The Rams should be able to snap out of this 3-game skid, unless they shit the bed against a hapless Jaguars team that's likely primed to be officially eliminated from playoff football in about a week or 2. So the Rams should be able to get back on track ahead of their big Week 14 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. So the Washington football team goes to Vegas to roll the dice against the Raiders. This is another tough one to pick because, both teams are coming off huge wins in Week 12. The Raiders got out of their funk on offense, and Washington is rolling on a 3-game winning streak. I did like the Raiders upset over the Cowboys, but I think Washington has a lot more to win, and they showed a lot more consistency, especially on offense. So I'm going to go with Washington in this one. The Baltimore Ravens take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in another AFC North showdown. I think Lamar Jackson is primed for a bounce back game because of the injuries to the Steelers defense. I don't know if they're getting TJ Watt back this week. I don't know if he's already back, but who knows. Meanwhile, the Steelers are just free falling too, with Big Ben being washed as hell, and with his free falling, the offense just can't do anything. But expect the Ravens and Lamar Jackson to bounce back after their ugly win over the Browns. So I'm going to roll with the Ravens. The 49ers take on the Seahawks in the flex out game from Sunday night. I expect the 49ers, even with Jimmy Garbage fail, to put the final nail in the Seahawks playoffs hopes. Because I think the Hawks seem to have all but given up the season. Russell Wilson in that offense just hasn't seemed to have gotten in sync, even when he came back from injury. It's you would have thought that after 2 games or something that the Seahawks offense would have been clicking, but no, they still seem out of whack. So I think the Niners get the job done in Seattle, get their revenge, split the season series, and put the last nail in Seattle's playoff hopes. Then in the Sunday night game that did get flexed, the Denver Broncos take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, coming back from their bye to host the Broncos. The NFC West is still pretty much up in the air. Because the Broncos decided to, you know what, we're going to win a game against the Chargers in Week 12. So I guess now it becomes an important game. This is probably not going to be the blowout that everyone expected unless the Chiefs decide to make it one. The talent is there for the Chiefs to beat up on a still strong Denver defense, but, it's up to them and their talent to capitalize on it. So for as good of a defense as Denver is, I'm going to roll with the Chiefs. Then in the Monday night game, the New England Patriots take on the Buffalo Bills in a big AFC East matchup that everyone is waiting for. I thought early in the season that the Bills would run away with this division, but now this is pretty much the WWE Championship or the World Heavyweight title on the line. This is kind of that big championship matchup that almost decides the fate of the AFC East. I guess you could call it that, because the winner of this, takes control of the division. I mean, they still face each other twice, one more time in New England, but it's kind of a big deal in the Monday night, in the closer of Week 13. So this is going to be a big test for Mac Jones and this reignited Patriots defense, traveling to Western New York. And while the Bills defense did lose Tre'Davious White, they still have enough talent and experience to go after the rookie Mac Jones. And it's going to be on the offense too, because Josh Allen and that high-powered Bills offense, they're pretty damn good to go up against anyone, and that includes New England and their strong-ass defense. But it's going to be up to Josh Allen to take care of the football, not make any crucial mistakes, and attack that Patriots defense. So for as good as football as the Patriots are doing, I'm going to roll with Buffalo in this one in a tightly contested battle for the AFC East. So those are my picks for Week 13. Let me know what you feel about them. I don't know how I'm doing in terms of picks, getting them right or wrong, but hey, we do this for fun. Let me know your picks however you can, whether it's on YouTube or on the Twitters and Instagrams. But that is it for today's show. Talking about Week 12 and Week 13 of the NFL season. My name is DylanLasagna of Very Cold Lasagna, signing out of today's show. And Make sure to listen to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, and Google Podcasts. And make sure to follow the social media on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. Very cold in the fridge with that very cold yet spicy hot Very Cold Lasagna. And hopefully week 13 brings us some good football. We're in December football, baby. Here we are. It's going to get real wild in December. All right, everyone. Until next time, peace out.